Hello, my name's Nick Harris. I'm a children's book illustrator. Today we're going to be doing something a little less children's bookish. Going to be tackling an image about someone looking kind of oppressed and threatened. I'm working here in ArtRage 4 in workbench mode, which means that by putting a few tools in the toolbox in normal mode, they suddenly appear up the side where I'm indicating here. My favourite tools there that I'm going to be using the most. Makes them easy to get to. So we picked colour there, layers just below, tools there. So we will start with a bit of sketching to get an idea down and then take it from there. Okay, let's go. Right, that was supposed to be get you going music to energise you and indicate the sort of energy you should have at the start of when you're doing a project like this. Well, I've started sketching, as you can see, and now I'm trying to work out a bit of perspective. I haven't really, I'll just fudge around and move lines this way, that way and every way till I decide on a vanishing point and eye level. And I've decided that to make him look oppressed, this little character I'm drawing here, have an eye level above him, so you're looking down at him. And I'm drawing these lines in red on a separate layer, apart from the horizon line that I've drawn green, just so that it shows up. So I'm making up my own sort of grid. It's all by eye, so it will have that human error factor with it, but hopefully makes it a little less mechanical looking. Keeping it on a separate layer like that means that when you don't want to see it, you can just turn it off as well. I think that, well, I do that. I think that's a good idea. In some software, you now have a perspective rig, which is really nice. The new Painter 13 coming out, that's got a perspective rig, and Manga 5, which is already out, preempted it. You can get Manga 5 Basic for about $79, $99, and that's got that in already, which is a lot cheaper than Painter. But then, of course, you haven't got all the lovely brushes and everything. So it's a trade-off. Anyway, back to this. My idea, it's supposed to be in an everyday sort of setting, so I'm going to sit him in a very basic, grotty sort of calf, having a cup of coffee, and because he has to look oppressed, I've got him hunched. It's kind of closed body language. His knees are together, his feet are sort of splayed inwards, his shoulders are drooped. He's looking, his head is down, and he will be looking up at you, which is exaggerated by the higher eye level, so hopefully he will look a bit downtrodden. This drawing will alter as we go, because I said making up as we go, so I make lots of mistakes. I've put a few sort of splash pointers up there just to say what I'm doing, in case I forget to say it, because I'm doing this voice narration after the fact. I've got the vid cap down, I'm trying to remember what I did, and this is me splashing an umber watercolour layer set to multiply. I like the raw umbers, that kind of thing, as a sort of neutral to warm tone to lay down areas of shade. The watercolour tool, where you see it overlapping, that's where I've lifted the brush from the tablet and then put it back down. But then you could, if you don't want those, you can fudge it with the palette knife tool set to wet blender afterwards. So, and you can also soften edges with that, so it makes it a very versatile and controllable tool. I like the watercolor tool in ArtRage for doing light shading and stuff like that, and then you can build it up with separate layers. So you'll see that as we go. I'm not doing voice narration over all this. There's only about sort of 12-15 minutes of voice narration, and then I just do stages to the end, so it keeps this vid cap quite short. So you can't use it to go to sleep quite as easily as you would with all my other ones. I'm thinking about having some figures outside the window. I probably won't keep them. And if they look like that, I definitely won't keep them. Some kind of Tierney thing. Well, our water boiler. Thinking about placing another bench there. Fixed benches again. It's all the idea of oppression, things fixed in place you can't move. I'm not going to have loose chairs, so you don't have the choice of where to sit exactly. Well, as much as you do know, you know what I mean. So we're thinking of McDonald's, really, I suppose. No, I didn't say that. Nothing wrong with McDonald's if you like them. I will fudge around and get things wrong, then rub them out and hopefully get them better. Didn't say right, said better. Less wrong. Not saying anything because I'm not really doing anything different. In fact, my process is fairly simple, fairly straightforward. Revolves around drawing, then blocking in colour, and then putting tone in over the top on layer set to multiply, and then repeating the process and just adjusting each thing as I go. I forgot to say about these those perspective rig tools, both in Painter and in Manga Studio. When you have them active, you can have it that any line you draw conforms to that rig, as opposed to having to do it by eye like I am here and follow lines. It just does it automatically. You can turn it off in Painter. I'm not sure in Manga Studio. I haven't really used either. I've got Manga Studio, haven't had a chance to use it yet. I will get Painter when I can afford it, but I've gone off Painter recently. I used to be a real fan of Painter, but my machines don't seem to like it as much as they used to. It always used to crash, but it still crashes, which doesn't impress me. And Art Rage suits my needs at the moment. As does Sketchbook Pro, it's another of my favourites. As you see, I'm repeating the process. This is another layer of watercolour. And unlike real watercolour, you can cut it out with a rubber afterwards. You try that on real paper. Not so successful. You can mop it up, but you never get it quite as clean as the original paper. So digital always more forgiving than real media. So you're softening the edges, as I said you can with the palette knife. And hopefully you can already see it's beginning to take some sort of shape. The shadows on the flat surfaces help define the forms, with the light coming through the window, smacking across the figure, which I want to be. He's the focus, so he will be the one mostly lit. Another thing that's a new addition to Art Rage 4 as opposed to 3 is you can have gradient fills. And that's all I did there. I just slapped a radial gradient fill at an angle in on another layer set to multiply, and it just immediately spotlit him and put the rest into relative shadow. And once you get more and more layers on, that looks quite crude now. That will become a fairly subtle effect, and I will work back into it as well, cutting bits out with. When I say cutting them out, when it's set to multiply, if you paint or draw with white on top of it, that will cut it out, or lighten it depending how hard you press. See, it looks like a rabid ant going around there. Press H for horizontal to flip horizontal, just to check the drawing now and again, because I have got a very much a right hand bias. I'm great at drawing things twisted, and I often forget to do this bit, so you'll see a lot of my twisted drawings around. I don't mean about the content, about how twisted my mind is. Just about how twisted my right-handedness is in when I draw things. Right, if you can hear It's me scratching my shoulder. It is only my shoulder, honest. Carrying on, defining more things. Consolidating there where the window frame is a bit more. As you see, I've still got the perspective lines on, so I can follow them. Can turn them off whenever I want. Yes. Next bit, I do add a checkerboard floor. Eventually. Hello, these seems to have got slightly out of sync here. There we go. Once they're added, I sort of drew it freehand on a separate layer so it didn't interfere with the drawing that was already there, and then I could use flood fill to fill the ones that were neatly drawn, but I just hand painted in the ones that weren't, tidied them up afterwards. If you draw it neatly, you could flood fill them, or you could take a pattern from another program, and now there you can distort. There's irregular transformations in Artrage that weren't there before, so could do it that way. Well, I tried that and I haven't shown it, but I didn't like the way it was looking. It was more trouble than it was worth. It didn't look right. Not that this is right, this is fudged, but it looked better than it did before. It's got more of a sense of going back than it had before. Now I'm just rubbing out the bits I don't want to show. Doing a bit of tidying. Now you can also see, I hope that I'm thinking of having a figure at the front here. Some kind of nemesis type figure. Just standing there, not doing anything, just kind of standing there. Looking threatening. He'll have some kind of uniform on. Probably not a waitress, that wouldn't be very threatening. In fact, that would just be odd if he was dressed as a waitress. Remember, we're thinking oppression here. Blocking in more shapes. In this case, just the benches. This isn't so oppressive that oppressive. What's oppressive? Oppressive. That they haven't even got soft furnishings on their seats. It's not that nasty. They do have lovely plastic cushions here. This is an upmarket cafe. Again, bits of tidying, just blocking in, making sure it's filled. Then using a lighter colour and the oil brush this time, because even though I filled it in with chalk, blocked it in with chalk, and going back with the oil brush because it's you get a nice smeary effect, and then softening it more with the palette knife, which you can see indicated top left. The tool that is selected is indicated top left. Now I was thinking about a nasty sort of tacky wood. It's retro, it's kind of that sort of 70s motor. We're talking the UK motorway calf type feel that when it was first done it seemed modern and trendy and warm and welcoming, but now it seems tacky. So I'm thinking sort of brown wood, but I do change that later. Just make it a general sort of hard surface, more neutral colour. Just personal choice thing. I did look at some pictures of cafeterias and couldn't really find any particularly retro ones. You build up depth using more layers of watercolour or tone, however you want to apply the tone. Just set it to multiply, put it over the top, and you see it starts to build much more depth. This is how I used to work in real media, so this is how I think in digital. Layers, 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 building up tone that way. It's a tentative way. My whole way of working is tentative. You're lucky I touched the graphics tablet really, otherwise it'd just be really ethereal. Sort of slightly semi-translucent half-glass doorway in the background. Otherwise it would just be very dark there, and there would be a bit dull. It just helps the composition a bit having that there, blocking in the counters. And then I just carry on in the same sort of way. So I would waffle all day. If any of you heard me before, this is what I do. So what I will do, I will stop talking now and just carry on and see how it progresses to the end. And hopefully I'll catch you next time. Bye!